Going on? The first song that I wrote on electric guitar was a song called Fresh Eyes. Yeah.
Did you think that this was going to be the ticket to success?
4 years later, I wrote Keep Your Head Up. From the moment that anyone heard that, they knew that was a hit.
Did John Mayer inspire you to do this?
I am much less talented than I am persistent.
What are the top 3 songwriting tips? Dude, look at this jacket you've got on. What a great denim jacket. Look at this thing.
Trying to keep up with you, my friend.
But I'm not wearing a denim jacket, so that doesn't even make any sense. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we're out here doing promo in New York, man. Gotta look the part.
Fantastic. Do you have someone who styles you, or is this just out of the Andy Grammer closet?
Oh no, I had a stylist for this week. Yeah.
And what do they do? Do they present you with options, and you what do you do? You tell her what you like?
Yeah, you get with. I have a creative director, and we make up like a mood board, and then you go pick out stuff that they've chosen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Is this like the moody Andy Grammer? Like, I don't know if this new album's going a little country, but you've got like a Maddie and Tay collab on it. Like, is that what's breaking out the
I
denim? Like,
know.
what's going on here?
It must be. It must be connected to my roots, man. Denim vibes.
What are your roots though? You don't really have country roots.
I don't have a ton of country roots. I've done a lot of traveling around the country. I love Louisiana desperately.
Yeah, you
Like
named your kid Louisiana.
my daughter's name is Louisiana. Yeah, this has been a wild experience for me. I didn't expect this coming from me, but once I picked up a mandolin, it was like, oh, this is sick. I love this. Yeah.
What was because this new album coming out on Friday, which is called
Yeah.
Monster. We're just gonna get right into it and start
Let's
plugging it.
jump in.
We're just jumping in. Why the mandolin? You wrote this whole thing with a mandolin, which I love to picture you traveling around LA, going to all these writer sessions, just holding a mandolin.
That's
What?
exactly what happened.
I know, right? Like, what are you doing, Andy? So you're going to all these places with a mandolin, being like, guys, this is what we're using today. Is that what
Yes.
happened?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And sometimes the writers were like, okay. The thing about the mandolin is you can obviously play chords on it, but what came out of me when I held it were lead lines, which is different than what I've done before. And so that was like really fascinating, interesting to me. Like when I picked it up, the first thing I played was the riff on a song called Bigger Man, which is like very different than anything I've written before. Like ding 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 ding. And I remember being like, what the hell is that? Let's chase that a lot further. And then it just didn't stop until the album was done.
And did that line, because I've heard a couple songs on this album that are out, and there's like no mandolin that made it on the production, at least from the songs that are out, right?
Oh, interesting. No, there's mandolin on Without You. That's mandolin, that guitar line.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but I do, for example, like you wrote that with a mandolin, but mandolin didn't make the track because it sounded too Louvin
No, I think
Brothers.
ding
Like,
ding 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 ding. That's mandolin in there.
well, I don't know anything. Clearly, is the
No, it's all right.
so wait, but so you write this on mandolin? Was it just the fact that you had no idea what you were doing on a mandolin that allowed you to
That's
be a
part of
little
it.
more creatively free? Like, what was it that gave you these
I think
melodies?
that's probably part of it. I mean, I play guitar fairly well, and the mandolin is totally different. It's similar in that it's got strings, so you can play it. But the sound of it, again, like when you write a song on the guitar, the bass, like the chord changing on the guitar really sets up just the vocal. But this was like it led itself to, like I said, like lead lines, and then figuring out, man, what do like trap drums sound like under a mandolin lead line, or what is like it was just really creative and interesting in areas that I hadn't played with before.
How'd you get Maddie and Tay on I Do?
Oh, they're great. We just reached out to them, they're in.
But why them out of you could have reached out to anyone. Why them?
Um, they were presented as an option, and I really liked their sound. And then we hung out, and I really enjoyed them. They're like great humans. So it made a lot of sense. We got to go make an incredible video with them. We got Costin Mayer in on the dance. It's been a great time.
So did you record the song with them, or did you send them the files and they recorded it and then
I sent them the track, and they then we went back and forth on it. Yeah,
they agreed and they loved the song basically?
yeah, yeah.
Are you going to go out and play this together, play this with them, or who knows?
So we are currently in New York. I'm in New York City. We're playing it tomorrow on Kelly and Mark and the morning show, live with Kelly and Mark, and I'm sure we'll cross paths and sing it together as well.
Oh, that's going to be great. Why is this
No,
the moody album? I feel like this is coming, the branding, the messaging around this is that this is Andy Grammer's moody album. Why are we so moody for this album?
I don't know. I just like I feel like I had some stuff going on in my life where I was like keeping the peace
What
for a
does that
long.
mean?
That means going against your own truth to make sure that nothing blows up, whether that's like in a personal relationship, a business relationship, like in general. And and what was hiding underneath that, because I'm like a people pleasy kind of a person. I don't know if you can tell that,
Yeah.
but
But that's good. I don't know.
that can be good.
Yeah.
That can be good in general, but there is a point where it crosses a line where it's actually bad, and now you're not authentic. And so the monster idea is like, oh, listening, allowing the truth to come back in, even though, and it might be a little scary. And so some of these songs are like a little bit angry, I think, which I haven't done before. And that was fascinating. And I
When
think
do you,
something
yeah.
about the sound of the mandolin felt different enough. Like it still sounds like an Andy Grammer record, but it was different enough to allow me to go to different lyrical places too, which was really cool.
When do you feel like your people pleasing nature was getting in the way? Like, was there a moment or an example where you went, okay, I'm trying too hard to please someone or something?
Yeah, I don't think I can go into actual detail about it. I would love to, but I don't think I can.
But there was a moment that something happened and it made you
Yes.
go, wait a second. May,
Yeah, I think that for people pleasers, the word boundaries is a gnarly, scary word. And there was a point in my life where I was like, oh shit. If I don't deal with this, then I'm gonna it's not gonna work out for me in the long term. Or some part of me is not living in truth, and therefore I have to go blow this all up. Yeah.
and that felt like the right theme for this album.
Yeah, because whatever I'm going through and really feeling, if I can capture it correctly, then my fans and people usually connect to it. That's what I found over my career.
So did you have that idea going into every writing session for this album, or did you find that those were the songs you were gravitating towards writing for the album?
More than ever, once I felt the mandolin in my hands, I was like, this whole record needs to sound like this. And I want every song to have mandolin on it. Yeah.
How good of
And
a
so that
man? Yeah.
so then I played it, and then you get better people to come, like then you hire better people to come fill out what you're doing. You're kind of like the orchestrator. Some of these I actually produced, and just got better people to play the mandolin.
So you're not playing any mandolin on this thing?
No, I am. Some of it is me and Pro Tools like making magic happen. Right?
Val,
Like I can't play amazing, but I can play enough and then edit and then splice and then get it all together and then double and triple and quadruple. Right? Yeah.
what kind of mandolin do you have? Like, do you have a great mandolin?
It was a bunch of different mandolins that I picked up in different parts of the country. I was like, there's a Gibson that I really like, and then like I would run into a guitar shop and just I'm very impulsive. I don't know if you can tell by all this whole mandolin stuff. Yeah. I'm
What
not proposing that I'm an amazing mandolin player by any stretch of the imagination.
what's the most amount of money you spent on mandolin?
Probably like $1,500.
I mean, that gets up there, but mandolins get really expensive.
They do get expensive, but I mean, the last time that I had a feeling like this, where you just kind of like chase a whimsical idea, I'd only been playing acoustic guitar, and then I ran out and bought an electric guitar. And the first song that I wrote on electric guitar was a song called Fresh Eyes,
Oh yeah.
which did pretty well. So I've had experience with being like, what is that? A little whisper, like let me go chase it, and it's worked before.
So you didn't own an electric guitar prior to Fresh Eyes coming out because that wasn't
No,
even.
that was the first song I wrote on electric. Yeah.
And do you feel like that's
Sometimes,
yeah?
sometimes you can like. Sometimes there is an advantage to coming to something as an idiot. You know, like you don't have any of the constraints around what it is supposed to be, and so you just pick it up and start going after it. Yeah.
Did you feel that way on electric guitar though? Did an electric guitar
I'm
feel
still
so
not a
foreign?
great electric guitar player, I wouldn't say by any means.
What do you
I'm a
think? Yeah.
songwriter. I care always about the song. And so I'm most interested in how do the lyrics sit on top of a bed of sound. And I've never been someone to like shred on any instrument.
What?
It's always
Yeah.
there as like a baseline to paint on top of. Yeah.
No, I get that. I always think it's funny because I play guitar, and I always think it's funny when people say I play electric and acoustic guitar, like as if they're totally different instruments. Are
Yes.
they though? Do you feel like they're totally different instruments?
I mean, it just depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to get. Like my guitar player will tell you they're very just different instruments because he's a beast at both of them. Um, they the way that I think of it is they elicit different things from me as a writer, so they're different that way. Like if I get into my studio and I pick up an acoustic guitar and start to write a song, it will probably be a different song than if I plug my electric into an amp and put delay on it and reverb and stuff. And you're like, oh, this is a different thing. Yeah.
So prior to Fresh Eyes, you're basically playing an acoustic guitar for your entire musical,
Yes.
journey. What's the
Yeah.
secret to busking? When you would go out and busk in your early career, would you need a license to be out on the street, or would you kind of
Oh
just go
yeah.
and do it?
I did just go and do it, and then someone with a clipboard promptly shows up and asks for your permit. And then I was like, what? You need a permit to do this? So then he told me where to go, and you go down and stand in a line with other people that are like signing up to juggle, and someone like signing up with like a snake to like take stuff, and then you refill it every year or whatever. That was a wild, wild time to just like go out, and I would stay for like 12 hours at a time until the rent was paid.
So when you get a permit, what do you get? To be on a specific spot or just to be in the city?
It's probably different in each place. In Santa Monica, you get 2 hours in each spot, and they change every even hour. So you wait for a spot. Uh, so sometimes you can get there really early and wait for like I would get there at 8 a.m. and wait and put all my CDs together. That's how old I am. When you could sell CDs. So I'd get there at 8 a.m., put my CDs together for like 4 hours, and then for call a spot in front of McDonald's from 12 to 2. And then you'd move it to another spot, to another spot, to another spot. Yeah.
Because that was courtesy to move, or that's what you had to do?
You had to move every even hour you have to move. It's like a
So
whole game. And then around like 1:45, people are start looking around like who's gonna move and try to get the better spot for the next thing. It was like a whole hustle.
So what's the secret? Because you've talked about playing covers. Like, what'd you play? Hey There, Delilah, right?
I
Is
played
that
Hey There Delilah. I played One Republic. Apologize, and I would beatbox when I did that, which helped. And then I would sometimes just like write songs about people as they walk by. I'm out here in New York right now. People are like handing me tickets to things like you got to come to this event. It's like it's kind of that energy. You're like you got to build, and then you learn that if you can get the crowd to close around you, then people are like, "What's going on over there?" And you get a bigger crowd to come. It's like a whole other part of my life. It was
how
wild.
would you do that? How do you get everyone to close around you?
You could actually just like what the breakdancers would do is they would go and actually like take people by the shoulders and put them to close the circle. And I didn't do too much of that, but sometimes you're basically trying to get enough attention that people will stop is was a wild way to start.
How do you do that though? Because the breakdancers have other people, like they're a group
I
that can
know.
go out and get them. So like,
But one of the things that would help is you bring someone with a cajon because you need like enough sound, like bass and like you need like volume to get heard. And then uh covers are important. Again, I would like sometimes just pick a little girl who was walking by and ask her name and then try to write a song on the spot. Maybe some sort of interact. Like you're just trying to get attention to stop and look at you, and that is it's hard to do. I got
did
better at it.
did you think, because you did this for 4 years,
Yeah,
did you think that this was going to be the ticket to success, or was it the only way you could figure out to make money at that time?
it was just better doing this than like getting a job as a waiter. Because with this, you're singing covers all day, but there's something really valuable about singing covers and getting it in your bones and going like, why does this pre-chorus go into the chorus so well? And then how do I write that? So I would do that, and then in the time that I wasn't performing the covers, I would go home and try to write songs like the covers that I was singing. Yeah.
And you thought that because there's like this moment that you've talked about where like you basically were, I don't know what, you weren't about to give up. And you say that you screamed from the streets.
Yes. This is
I
a
don't
true
know what you
story.
said. You said what? Give me a sign or something. What did you
I
say?
just said like I looked up at the sky and said like your move because it's been quite a few years, and I will do this forever.
Yeah, but
If you
why
don't,
what did you think was going to happen? Because I'm going to get to part two, but what did you think was going to happen? Street like if I was you trying to make it in the music industry, I would have been going to the networking events. I don't know what I would have been doing, but it just seems like if I was busking for 4 years, it's lunacy, isn't it? Like, what did you think was going
it's
to happen?
insanity. It's insanity. The truth is that anything with art is really hard because you don't get paid until you're good. I feel like there's other careers where you get trained and people will like pay you along the way as you get good at what you're doing. In art, it's like that either makes me feel or it doesn't make me feel. And if it doesn't make me feel, then like have a nice day. Um, there was enough moments along the way in 4 years, you'd have these little mini pockets where the circle would close and you could feel that like, oh, I could do this. And then they'd all leave and it would be almost impossible to get everybody to come back again. But that's kind of like the music industry is right now anyway, to be honest. For everybody, all these people throwing up songs on TikTok and like they have one that goes and they're the really cool thing and then like followed by long stretches of silence and then you just keep putting out awesome stuff and hopefully another thing happens, you know.
But did you think when that circle of people would close around you, would you think you could do this just from a talent level, or did you feel like that felt like your career was getting momentum?
No, my career was not getting momentum, but I knew that I was getting better at what I was doing. It is delusional. When you put it the way you're putting it, it's delusional to think that that's like a smart route to have things work. But I could kind of sense that this is something I can do. I'm just not good enough at it yet. But I could do it. I just, in this moment right now, I suck. But I can see, like today, I suck a little bit less than I did the day before. And if you just multiply that out by a lot of time, then maybe this could work. Yeah.
So you didn't have the feeling like maybe I should be out meeting a label executive or a manager or something, but eventually you did meet your manager,
No, because I
Busking.
suck.
But because you,
This
so
is the
you did,
thing.
that was the thing. But why'd
When
you
you
know you
start,
sucked? Because everyone
when you
thinks they're
start it,
great. Yeah, yeah.
when you start at things, I heard this from on a podcast one time. Forget what his name is. Whatever. We'll have to look up what his name is. He talks about how the reason you get into stuff is because you have really good taste. So you get into movie making, art making, painting, songwriting because you know what good songs are. And then you start to write your own songs and you're the first one that knows that they suck because you have good taste. And the only way to get your stuff that you're making to be as good as your taste is to do it like so many times. So many freaking times. And then eventually you write one that is as good as your taste, and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. 4 years later, I wrote Keep Your Head Up. Yeah.
You wrote Keep Your Head Up after this day where you basically scream from the streets, your
Yes.
move, which I wish I was there. That
No, it
sounds,
sounds insane. When
yeah.
it's said back to you, it sounds like you got a screw loose, bud. Yeah.
Yeah. But you went home and you wrote that song.
Yeah.
How did that song connect the dots for you though? Because that was your first really big song, right?
Well, what's really wild when you're out there for 4 years, this thing that seems like ephemeral or hard to put your finger on, this whole debate about like what is good art. Like how can you tell that one thing is good and then something else isn't good? But when you are out on the street and you're singing your original songs and everyone's ignoring you, when you sing one that is good, they stop. And from your perspective, you're like, oh, no, it's not just like mumbo jumbo. There is good and not good. And so that really connected the dots because once I had that song to sing, I could see the difference on people that they were like, oh, this is good. And that happened with a cover before when I would sing Sunday morning, something about my voice singing that song on guitar, that worked too. And you slowly, so then you're like playing all these songs and nobody cares and you suck. And then I'd play Sunday morning and then people would stop and then I would play a different song and they would all leave. And so you're like 4 years of like, all right, I got one thing and it's not my song, but it is being of service to people because they stop and they like it. Now, how do I add to this in covers and in songs of my own? And it just takes a really long time. Yeah.
How did Keep Your Head Up though? Do you feel like that was the song that got you? What did that get you?
Yeah.
Did that get you a record deal? And that,
Yeah, that my manager heard that song. My manager at the time, he heard that and he was like, oh, that's big. And then we went and produced that song. And pretty much right off the bat, that one had the juice. Some of these songs just have it. I remember the one that I've had that you couldn't have stopped it from being a hit, which I've only had one time, which was Honey, I'm Good. from the moment that anyone heard that, they knew that was a hit and that couldn't be stopped. And then we saw it go up the radio chart and we saw everything. It was just like a virus that once people heard it, they wanted it. Yeah.
What did Keep Your Head Up do? Like, how did you basically get from Busking to Keep Your Head Up becoming a big hit?
So keep your head up. I got a record. I got signed to S Curve Records off that song, and then it got put in Pitch Perfect, which was a pretty big movie at the time.
Yeah.
And then I went on like a radio promo tour that was akin to like a presidential bid around the country, visiting every radio station like 3 or 4 times. I was just like on the road the whole time. But what was unique and maybe different that I had that other people didn't have was I had like 4 years of what we're talking about. Like, how do you get someone to pay attention in very short amount of time when they actually don't want to pay attention to you? That is a very unique skill that is actually super helpful at like 7 a.m. with a radio programmer who doesn't want to hear you. So like I had all this experience to go in and be like, oh, what's going on? I actually have what you need. This song I think is a hit. Also, I'm going to be very entertaining to you for about 12 minutes because I have this 12. It's almost like a stand-up comedian who's like working on their jokes to get it right. And the 15 minutes that I had were powerful. And then the song was good. And so it worked.
And was it a confidence that you brought in that made them powerful, or was it banter, or would you have like certain lines that would
No, I
get
think
recycled?
it's that yeah, maybe there's jokes that but more than that, it's this idea that I'm saying like when I played Sunday Morning, I saw that like, oh, I'm actually giving to you. As opposed to like I'm sure you live in Nashville, you've been to friends shows where you're giving to them,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
you know what that feels like. And over the 4 years, I got 15 minutes where I actually was just giving to the listener. And so that does instill confidence because you know you have something. Not a lot, but you got something. Yeah.
What was it about John Mayer that I think he had a big impact on your life musically, right? Because he made you go from being a jock to wanting to be a musician, right?
Yes. Yes.
What was it? Was Room for Squares that really that
Well,
was
yeah.
life
Did you say
changing, right?
you play guitar?
I do play guitar, yeah.
Yeah, that album blew my head off because most of what I'd been learning up to that point was like down on the neck. You're playing G, C, D, you're doing the
Cowboy
thing.
chords, yeah.
You're doing the cowboy chords and then you're like getting a capo for different situations. And John Mayer, Room for Squares, what is it? No Such Thing. It starts off like way up and they're like these jazz chords, but it still works in the pop realm. And I went all in on learning every single one of those songs and where all those chord changes were all over the place. And that was just so interesting to me. And then I started writing songs using a lot of the different geometric shapes that he had to kind of eventually figure out what my sound was.
So that because your parents were both musicians, right? Wasn't your dad was an
Yeah.
artist, but
My
that
dad's still
yeah,
rocking,
yeah.
still
But
doing it. Red Grammar.
so that
Crushing it.
didn't inspire you though to chase being an artist. It was Room for Squares. Did that really
No,
have
I
that
mean,
big of an impact?
I think that when you grow up around in an artist family and you see your dad and your mom writing songs, and then my dad made his living from singing, that's a door that's always open and possible. That I think is a pretty lucky compared to maybe some other people that grow up in like a family of lawyers or something and have to make this huge hurdle leap into believing that they could do it. Like I knew it was possible. It was just going to take a lot of eating shit till you get something that's actually worth it, you know?
Have you ever met John Mayer and told him this?
Oh, totally. It's great. Sweet guy.
Really? Where'd you meet him for the first time?
I met him at a studio in Santa Monica, and he was just like, we were both working on different tracks in different rooms, and it was like break time, and I got to tell him that he like taught me guitar, and he was really sweet about it.
He wasn't like
No, he
I've
was
taught the
cool.
whole world guitar. What
I know, right?
get out
He
of here.
probably has. Yeah, no, he was cool. He was like, it was a little moment that we had that was good.
That is cool. How do you gotta get him to do a feature on a record?
Got to get him on one, man. I know. I got to reach out.
Yeah. How would you reach out to him? Do you have his direct contact info?
I don't have his direct contact. I'm sure I could probably get in touch with him if the right
Yeah,
song
you're a big deal.
presented itself.
You could
Yeah,
pull it off. Yeah, yeah,
figure
absolutely.
it out.
What's happening with this tour right now? You're doing a solo show. Did John Mayer inspire you to do this? Like, why are you playing
No,
these shows solo?
this is really wild and one of the most punk rock things I think I've ever done because it's I've always been kind of against just a solo show because I didn't know why that would be better than going with a band. Like I've seen other people do it, some of my friends have done it, and I've been largely unimpressed, to be completely honest,
Me
with like,
too.
oh, I would rather just see the band, dude.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This is like a pretty wild experience. So everybody that comes in gets a card and a pen, and they fill out the answer to 3 questions that are all pretty deep questions. And then all those get put into a chest, and I bring them out when I walk out on stage. And there's telephones in the audience, so that if I call one of the answers that you've written, people stand up in the audience and go to a phone, and I have a conversation with them in front of the audience, and everybody can hear. And then we sing songs in between and after these interactions that I'm having with people. And it's been really powerful and pretty moving, and like it's been wild. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done, honestly. It's so different than it's definitely not like, oh, Andy's just sitting on a bench singing some songs. It's like a whole thing. And I do spoken word poetry, and there's stories and there's songs. It's like a different kind of a night.
How'd you come up with this idea?
Um, Mostly out of the desire to make something really special as opposed to just singing songs. Like I just really didn't want to just have it be just me at guitar singing songs. Like I could have done that, I guess, but a lot of like when I throw these full band shows, there will be moments where I'll do spoken word poetry, and I got a lot of feedback. It's like, oh man, we'd like more of that actually. And so then I kind of tailored this new thing towards that. Yeah.
Wait, so what are the questions that are written on the card, or do you have to
Oh,
come to a show to
you want
find
to play
out?
along a little bit?
Yeah, let's play along.
I'll put you through it. Okay, so one of the questions is name someone who has saved your life physically, mentally, or spiritually.
Okay. I have a person. There's a movement coach. His name's Bob Latta. He was a professor at college. I went through severe physical tendonitis issues with my hands, and I spent years with him while I was in college, and he totally changed my physicality.
Oh, awesome. So then I would ask you that, and then I would ask if everybody would probably applaud you for sharing that and feel closer to you because you'd be a
Yeah.
stranger. But now I'm like, oh shit, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. And then at the end of sharing like 6 to 8 of those, then I'll play a song called "Save My Life," and everybody's like in a zone, and it's super cool. One of the other ones is write down an act of service you've done for someone else.
I don't do anything for anyone, Andy.
I don't believe you. You have to answer it. What do you
So
got?
what was the question again? Something I did for someone else?
An act of service that you've done for someone else.
Well, recently there was a college kid who was trying to figure out how to get into the music industry. Not that I know how to get into the music industry, but somebody connected him with his son. Someone was like, "Would you mind talking to my son who's trying to get into the music industry? Just
Yes.
graduated college." I spoke to him for an hour.
Give him some time. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
real. Okay, this next one's like kind of heavy. So you're in with me now. So we're gonna
I'm
do this.
fully committed with you right now.
Okay.
The good thing is it's
So
my show, so I can cut any of this out if I want to.
totally.
But
So I'd
no, we're
say
gonna leave it in.
write down the name of someone that you deeply love that has passed.
See now, I'm thinking about all the people in my life who have passed away, and I'm trying to think which is the one
You can
that
pick anyone. There's no hierarchy.
I mean, my grandmother for sure. She passed away
Okay,
most
cool.
recently. Yeah.
So then if I was on stage and I called you would have written down her name, and I called it, you'd stand up, you'd go to a phone, and I'd say, finish this phrase for me. Uh like you're talking to her on the phone. I hope you're proud of me for it.
I think playing music because she got me my first guitar.
She did.
She did. Yeah. Her and my grandfather got me my first guitar for a birthday present. And I always think about that. And she also bought me my this isn't even about me, but she also bought me my first really good acoustic guitar when I graduated high school. And I
Yes.
play that guitar. It's still my go-to acoustic guitar. I just had it on tour. I just played a gig with it a couple weeks ago.
I
And
love it.
I would want her to know that she's still inspiring me to play music.
Sick. Okay, and then the next one is I want to thank you for it.
Well, that I want to thank her for those guitars because she got me my first
Those are
guitar.
good.
So I probably would have figured out another way to get a guitar, but she made it easier
She
because
made
she
it
got me
easier.
that first guitar.
Yeah.
And she got me an acoustic guitar, which I really desperately needed because I only had an electric. So I needed an acoustic guitar, and she got me that. And she spent a lot of money on this acoustic guitar for me. So it was really,
Grandma. Yes,
I fucking
grandma.
know. So it still is like an incredible acoustic guitar that still serves me every single day that I need an acoustic guitar.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, third one is one thing I always admired about you was
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, she was a great painter. She was an artist. She wasn't a full-time artist, but she was a hobbyist painter, and she
Yeah,
could really paint
that's
in a
dope.
watercolor and in oil. And
I
she
love
really
it.
had, and she actually did a couple of portraits of me and my
Did
siblings.
she?
Yeah, she did.
Oh
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
And then I would
Yeah.
close it with I feel your presence most when.
It's really though when I'm playing the acoustic guitar, which is I've said that a couple
Yeah,
times, but that's the honest answer because that's really it.
yeah.
I don't. The first guitar she got
So
me, I
sweet.
don't. That's at my parents' house. I don't really play that often because it's not the most playable. But the acoustic
Yeah,
guitar is a real instrument that I'll have forever, hopefully.
super cool. So the idea that everyone like that was just so interesting for me. Everybody's story, if you ask them the right question, is like fascinating. And so there's been a lot of that happening out on this wild ass one man show, and it's been really really cool.
Do people know that's what they're signing up for with the tour? Because I was looking online at the website, I was reading the one man show, and I missed all of this. So do people when people show up, are they totally surprised
No,
that that's what they're in for?
not really. They don't fully know, but I haven't gotten a lot of complaints. People that come are like pretty pumped by the time they leave.
No, I think such a cool idea, and I think what you're saying is right that most of the time the one man show is disappointing, but this kind of gives it a
Yeah,
totally different flip.
yeah. Like I've just been to them before, and you show up and you're like, okay, what are we doing? And they're like, I'm just gonna play the songs. Like, oh, all right. That's how I've left most of them. Not
Yeah.
shitting on anyone, but I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want it to be like, what can you like? I think of it like it's like a bus when you go with your band and everybody that's a little bit hard to turn quickly. And when you go by yourself, you're on like a bike that you can go into alleys and do any like whatever weird shit you want. Yeah.
I think this is such a great idea for a tour. Are
It's
you
really it's been wild.
how long are you going to do this? Because the tour dates go through the end of the year, but are you going to do this? Are you going to incorporate this into your tour forever now?
We'll see. I mean, I'm pretty pumped to head back to the other way of doing it for this record because I made the record for a long time and seeing that come to fruition sounds really fun. But I don't think this is done because people are really enjoying it and there's got to be probably be some more of this happening.
Does this make it easier a tour as well? Like your setup has got to be light, right? There's no
It's pretty
band,
light.
there's
There's
no
one
crew.
bus, one I have a guitar player with me who's just like setting the mood while people are sharing, which is cool. And yeah, but it's a little bit it's like it's just yeah, smaller, but like heavier and cooler, different, very different. Like when I'm done with the band show, I can't go to bed for like 3 hours because I'm so pumped and
Yeah,
psyched.
right, right,
When I end the show, I go directly to sleep.
right.
Yeah.
I gotta come out to one of these shows. When you come,
Yeah,
is there a Nashville date? I don't know if I saw a
I
Nashville
don't
date.
know there's a Nashville date, but we might have to like extend it through next year and try it again because people have been really into it.
Oh, this is great. I love this. I was
Yeah.
watching last night. This was almost a decade ago. I was watching last night this interview you did with Larry King. I guess
Oh
on
my God.
Larry King
Yes.
now. I just found it was just
Wow.
recommended it to me because I was watching videos and that popped up. Do you remember that experience? Did that feel like a big moment to sit down with Larry King and have him interview you?
Dude, maybe you know this too. Like it's so interesting. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Okay, so I'm 40.
Yeah.
When you have these dreams of doing things and then you get to them, for him that did feel really special. But just to the point of what you're saying, like it's wild when the world changes so much and then you get to something that you thought was really going to be the big thing and it doesn't feel that way. That's not true about Larry King. That did feel really special, but just that what you're bringing up is fascinating. That, like so much is shifting that like what you think will be something might be totally different by the time you get to actually do that thing in the ever changing landscape that is the like the media, the music industry, or whatever. Yeah.
What was an example of something like that? Like something early in your career that you thought once I did that, it would really set up my career and then it ended up not doing that.
Yeah, just like a lot of the TV stuff. I remember growing up, everything was about TV. And now we're in an era where TV is a little bit less of a thing, right? Or like any write up in any magazine. You're like, does anyone read magazines? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right,
I'll
right.
do. I'm like, I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But like, does anyone? I haven't read a magazine in I don't know a decade.
Yeah.
Like, But I'll still like if people are I'm in, let's go. This is cool. Yeah.
Do you remember, did you feel impressed by the questions that Larry King was asking you? Like, did you think he was still a great interviewer? Or was that sort of not the point? Was the point that you were just in the room with Larry King and he was interviewing you?
There is something, especially in the early days of my career, there was some cool stuff that meant a lot to me then. Like I remember getting to play on Jay Leno was a big deal because I grew up watching him, and people who are listening to this probably don't even know who that is at this point. So
No, everyone
wild.
knows. I think everyone knows who Jay is. I mean, yeah, that felt like a
Do
big deal.
they?
Maybe I think they know of him. I feel like they would know his
If you're
name. Like that.
Gen Z, do you know who Jay Leno is?
I feel like maybe you don't, but I feel like you would know because he was still on TV when I was growing up. Because I remember when Jimmy Fallon took over the Tonight Show. So
Exactly.
I remember that. But I feel like maybe you might not even know what he looks like or what he sounds like or who he is, but I feel like you would know his name. Like I
Yeah,
think
you might know his name.
like I
He,
still know
he was
Johnny.
super nice,
Yeah.
great guy. I've
Was
gotten to
he?
do all the late night shows, and he was one of the nicest ones.
Really?
Super nice. Yeah.
What's like one of the best experiences you've had doing a late night show?
Also Kimmel is a blast, just like a good dude. I've done
Because
that one a bunch of times.
and you just feel his energy when you do it and it radiates throughout the
Yeah,
entire
like
room.
usually they'll come in and hang, and you can get a genuine gauge of like that they're happy that you're there,
Yeah.
which isn't the case with everybody, you know.
Which studio do you think sounds the best to play in?
Oh, I have no idea. They all
Okay.
sound the same.
They all
Yeah.
sound the same. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. You had this moment happen, I guess in 2016, where you played the Super Bowl halftime show. And
Yes.
and I don't it was so funny because I was watching this last night. I think I'd seen it before. But the funny thing is, I genuinely, I'm not just saying this, I was like, this is not that bad. Like there's nothing
No, no,
about
no, no.
this
It's not that bad. I
that's
think
even bad. It's good.
good is debatable. I think ultimately it was really important for my career because you have what it showed me was that my brand or who I was wasn't as dialed in artistically as it needs to be. So I have the image that I would say is like you take a photo, and depending on how high quality the photo is, you can blow it up to a certain amount. And the quality of the photo at that point of what I was speaking on, what I was pushing, wasn't as dialed in as it could be. So then when they're like, "You have 2 weeks. Do you want to do this halftime show?" I'm like, "Definitely." And then everybody comes to you and goes like, "Do you want this? Do you want this? Would you like a choir? Would you like fireworks to blow up? Would you like this? Would you like this?" And I was kind of like, yeah, yes, yes, yes." And then you blowed it up, and it was like it was pixelated, 100%.
What do you mean it was
And I
pixelated?
can, what do you say?
What do you mean it was pixelated?
It was fuzzy. It wasn't like super clear on well, who is this guy.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
So so
that was
after
helpful information moving forward.
but
And you
didn't
got,
yeah.
whatever. I think there was like a Vanity Fair thing that was like worst halftime show ever or something. If you want to do this, you got to be able to just take the shots. You got to be able to just like sit with it and get rocked and just keep going, deal with the blows, and then keep moving forward. Yeah.
But didn't you hire like after this, didn't you hire like a brand coach or something to
Yeah, we
work
had we
with?
had a day with a branding specialist, which I thought was really fascinating. Like I've always been into it, but that was really, really cool. Learning about different brands. And I think the idea of branding is to make sure that you're really clear on who you are. And then is that how you are presenting yourself to everybody else? When those are not in alignment, that's when fuzzy stuff happens.
Were there any takeaways from that meeting with the brand coach or even just the experience in general where you've made conscious choices or decisions about where to take your brand or how to present yourself?
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that came up was like you're playing it like it's also just fast. You'd love it. Just even from talking to you for a little bit, like you can look and see that there's like really only 12 to 16 brand categories. And then you can see like which one do you think you fit into and where are you playing towards. And what came up was like you're a little bit more deep and than you're playing right now. And and you can see like what we just talked about with this one man show is like it's like a thing. This is like what I love. This is my favorite is to hold space for like deep, awesome, beautiful things to happen. And I don't know that that's what I was selling or showing at that halftime show.
I think that is fascinating though.
Really fascinating.
Yeah. So, okay, wait. So the new album's coming out on Friday.
Yeah,
What is your past every album that you put out since has had like at least one kind of like monster kind of
yeah,
breakout hit on it. Do you feel that with this album that there's a pressure to have that happen again?
possibly. What's fascinating right now, yeah, definitely. There's always pressure to have like success. What's fascinating about right now is like time is really interesting from what I can gather. Like you'll see things on TikTok that blow up that are old sonically. So like I'm fascinated by that. Like I'm really good friends with Natasha Bedingfield,
Yeah.
and she's like, you could argue she has a hit right now again, and that's really weird. That didn't occur when I was younger. So there's like a lottery to oh sorry. There's a lottery to the kind of algorithm TikTok stuff, but it might not be right now. It might be right now. Something might happen that just like blows up right now, but I think it's like kind of a longer tail and you service these interesting little songs to a lot of different places and create a vibe. And like I just had my song "Don't Give Up on Me" just had like another wild viral moment, and that's like pretty old song. So that's that. The time thing is weird right now, of like when something is released and then when it hits its peak is like pretty interesting.
So do you feel like with this new album, is there a focus track? And then you put out a decent amount of content on TikTok and
Yeah,
Instagram. Like, are you like, okay, this is the focus track. Let's start making content around that? Or are you not thinking about that because you don't even know what the breakout single is going to be yet?
I don't really know what the breakout is. I'm gonna make a bunch of really fun content. I love the idea that you can like one of the main ways that people are putting up content is you actually have the lyrics up. That like super highlights what my favorite part of songwriting is the lyric. So yeah, I mean I got a couple hunches of things that feel like hits to me, but the everybody else will let you know. You know.
How many of these songs are going to be played in the show once the album drops, or are they already getting played?
Some of them I'm already playing, but we'll see kind of based on reaction and then just based on some songs just work great live. So I'll kind of figure that all out.
And then next tour, the band's going to come out, or we don't even know yet.
Yes, yes.
I don't know.
I
This solo show sounds great.
I need to go give this. I got a mandolin guy that is unbelievable, and I need to hear this record played and screamed. That's a must for my life.
So now are you screwed though because now every tour you have to bring like a mandolin guy? Like now you have to have this other guy out on the road with you.
I'm in, dude. Yes, yes. That touring is a wild industry, but yes, for a good amount of time, there's going to be a mandolin by my side for sure.
I can't wait to hear this record. There's a couple of tracks out now. I think by the time people listen to this, it's going to
Yeah.
be out. Monster is going to be out, ready for you to listen to.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm
It's
excited. It means
th-
a lot to me. Like, it's not a perfect litmus test, but when I write a lot of songs, and the ones that make it on are the ones that I've either freaked out to alone in my car with the windows down, blaring, and like, or ones that have made me cry, or ones that have made me emote in some way. And so that all the songs that are on this one have done that to me. So now I'm excited to see what they do for everybody else. Hopefully they will.
what are there any like particular lyrics or just like crazy moments in the writing room from this album that are Easter eggs, even potentially, that when people go and listen to this album, they should listen to a certain song and know that something was happening behind the scenes or, there was something going on.
Yeah, there's a song called "Save a Spot" for me, which is a line that I wrote in a really kind of like a tough moment where I could feel myself getting cynical. And I had like a vision of like trying to write a song that would blast all the cynicism out of my body. And that one I'm really proud of how it came out. The line is if nice guys finish last, then save a spot in the back for me. I really like that. And then there's a couple moments where like the reason I titled it Monster was because one of the lines made me feel like super inspired. And the line is, "There's a monster in me who shut down, went to sleep, and forgot who he really was, but he's waking up." And that made me feel like billion. So there's some good stuff in there. I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
I can't wait to hear it. You always put out great music. How do you do that?
Thank you,
How
man.
is it because of all the years of busking? How do you keep the bar really high? Because not
Dude, if there's
everyone
anything that
does.
you've gotten from me so far, in this interview, is that I am much less talented than I am persistent. So I will just like not stop until I feel something really special in myself. And then once I feel that, then I got one. And then I will not stop until I feel something else special. And then I got two. And that has worked for me over the long term.
What do you think it is? Because you also have like some of the best writers on these songs. What do you think people like about writing with you? Because you have to bring something amazing into the room, right? Or do they just think they'll get an Andy Grammer cut and that'll be great for them? But like, what do you think they love
Um,
writing about with you?
well, I think I've been really lucky to have, not that everybody doesn't, I don't know how to say this without sounding shitty, trying to write songs that have meaning. Like that's what's really powerful to me. So a song that has meaning that is done incorrectly is immediately cheesy. So I have scraped against cheese every once in a while trying to get this across. But when you nail a truth about life simply and it somehow gets through without touching cheese and still gets it to the heart of people, then you get a song like Don't Give Up on Me, which people use to get through cancer. And I think that writers are like interested in trying to get some of those, as well as like the super bops that are like there's room for everything. Everything is necessary. But I think that when people come in to write with me, they're like excited to try to get one of those.
That's a good answer. That's a great
Yeah.
answer. We're wrapping up here really quickly. You've traveled across the country multiple times. Can you give me like your top three, either restaurants, coffee shops, destinations
Oh,
across the country that you look forward to going to every time you're in that city?
currently New York, any pizza place in New York, anyone.
But do you have a favorite?
Uh, I mean, Joe's is my jam.
Okay,
Just
that's good.
go get a regular cheese from Joe's and it will do
Yeah.
you right.
Okay.
Um, man, what's the name? You got me blanking. There's the famous beignet spot in Louisiana is the best.
Oh,
Just ask anybody.
oh my God, why can't the one that's open 24 hours, Cafe Du Monde.
Yes.
Yeah,
Cafe Du Monde
yeah, yeah.
is just vibe and sugar and everything is great. And then let's see what else is like great. I just had Luminati's deep dish in Chicago, but I don't think that makes the list. That's like lasagna. It was good, but it's like a lot. Oh, and then like any lobster in Boston is good. Legal seafood lobster. Hell yeah.
Seafood lobster is
Yeah,
always great. Deep dish doesn't
pretty
do it
good.
for me. I know that's sacrilege to say,
It
but
if I'm depressed, it works.
oh, okay, great. Who are a handful of artists, let's say top three new artists on the rise right now that you're really jamming with, or is there anyone that you're even collaborating with, or that you could get in the room and write
Who am
with
I
or
liking
whatever?
that's coming up? He's already up, but John Batiste is unbelievable. I love him. I love uh who am I listening to that I really dig? Reading more books these days than I'm listening at this exact moment.
What are you reading?
But oh man, there's a book called Stolen Focus that is worth everyone's time
Why?
about like because we are consistently being uh stopped from focusing. And the best work that I do comes from focusing for like long periods where I actually forget that time is happening and I'm like so into something. And in our current mode of this, that's happening less and less and less. So it's worth reading. It's really, really good. Um, who else is like making me happy? I got not a ton at the moment, which is bad. I need to listen to more.
No, that might be honest.
Oh, there's a group that that I found on TikTok, the 502s, that's like got like a banjo vibe that I like too.
I don't even know who they are, but I
Yeah,
love it.
go check them out. They're good.
Okay, last question. This might be the clip that goes viral if we do it
Here we go.
correctly, Andy. Here we go. What are the top three songwriting tips from Andy Grammer for a young
Okay.
songwriter?
If you're a budding songwriter, your song will get better. These are like basic and they're very simple, but your song will get better if you do these things. Number one, your highest note should be in the chorus. Number two, the rhythm of your verse should be different than the rhythm of your chorus so that you can feel a shift and a change. These aren't always true. Like there's plenty of hits that don't use this, but if you're a new songwriter and you do those two things, you will immediately have a song that sounds better, usually. And then number three is really care about your point of view. What do you have to offer that's different than everybody else? And those are the third one is obviously the hardest because a lot of times you don't even know, and you'll find it on track on the 80th out of 100 song that you've written. But so you write like I wrote with somebody that had 20 number ones, and I was like, dude, what do you know that I don't know? And he's like, oh, I've just written like 2,000 songs. I was like, oh, got it. Okay, cool. So it's like a numbers game. Nashville, you guys know that. You know the numbers.
Those are great tips though, because I was worried you were going to say like persistence or whatever, which is a good answer too. But those are really actionable, especially the first
Yeah.
two. And the
The
second,
first two, you should have a really good reason why you're not doing those two things. It should feel so good that you're like, this is why I'm staying here, or this is why the hook is not the highest note isn't here. If you don't have that reason, then change and try it the other way. Yeah.
okay,
I'll
that's
give you a
great.
fourth one.
Yeah,
Fourth.
give me a bonus round. Here we go.
The fourth one is that when you get started, the biggest difference I've seen between like novice writing rooms and like the high end writing rooms is that the novice writing rooms, they write something, the first 2 hours you write the beginning of a song, and you're happy because you have something, and you're worried you won't get anything better. The elite songwriters, at any moment, if you say to anyone in the room, like, I don't know, should we write something else? They go like, sure, let's write something totally different and dope. They're not afraid that the magic will show up. That might be like Jedi shit, but that's really true. That if you are not feeling in the moment like you have something special, do not be afraid to jump. But I only use that caveat if you've proven to yourself that you can finish songs, because you don't get to use that Jedi level until you've written 100 and actually finished, because a lot of people just won't finish songs. So once you write your first 100 songs, prove to yourself that you will do the work to finish the song, then you unlock the level of like, let's just jump if we don't feel amazing. And so a song like Don't Give Up on Me was the fifth song we wrote that day. That's not like, because you go like, is this good? Everybody's like, yeah. Is it great? No. Jump. You write another one. Good. Jump. That's high level stuff.
That's great advice right there too.
Yeah.
Andy Grammer on the podcast. Wait, do you remember when you did this branding exercise with this branding coach? You said there were 12 brands. Do you remember
Yes.
what they said your brand was?
They said that I was presenting as everyman, but that I was a little bit more like mystical than that is. And so to try to figure out like, how do you bring more of that in or figure out a way to do that? And so now we're at shows talking to people who've passed away. So I think we're getting there.
Do you know where to look, where to find those 12 brands, or do you just
Oh
have
my
to
God,
go
go to
hire a branding coach?
ChatGPT.
There
for
you
it.
go. Done. Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andy Grammer, the new album is called Monster, and it's going to be out now by the time you listen to this interview. And
Dude, good interview.
oh, thanks, Andy.
Good job.
Thanks.
I've been to a lot of these.
No, I
I've
appreciate
done a
it. Thank
lot.
you.
And
I know you probably have.
You're not phoning it in. You're doing good stuff here. I appreciate meeting you. It's really nice to meet you.
Great to meet you as well. I really appreciate you taking the time. And he's got a one-man show with a guitar player. It's a little misbranded. There's two people on stage, but
That is true. I called my agent. I was like, I think it'll be better if he's there. Is it weird that we bring another person? And his take was like, if you say it's a one-man show, you can add. You can't say it's a full band show and then take it down. That's when people start to get pissed off. Yeah.
that's a great point. No one's
Great
pissed
point.
that there's a second person there. If anything, they're happy. They go,
there's more.
There's more than I was. That's great. Full band show, one man, that's no go.
That's no go. Can't do that.
Yeah, precisely. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time. Good luck in New York, and I can't wait for this album to come out and to listen to it. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Awesome, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.